So for hundreds of years we've been telling you, and now you have to keep in mind that we took away any other god that you might have through force, through fear, through pain. So now I'm going to give you a god, but I'm going to do that in a way that it's going to further me. So I'm going to give you a God that looks like me, so that when you bow down to that God, you're bowing down to me. The Bible tells us what he's going to look like when he comes back. We have taken that and changed it. Do you remember when Jesus went to Egypt? He hid in Egypt. The people in Egypt, honey, they're not white people. How could he hide that? See, so that we've done that.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon from the flight deck. We're cruising at 37,000 feet. We just passed over the coast. We'll be beginning our descent in about 30 minutes. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to America.
Yeah. I was made in America, land of the free, home of the brave. And right up under your nose, you might see a sex slave being traded. And we'll do anything for the money. Boy, mama might sell her babies, sell porn, sell pills, anything to pay the bills, anything to bring that paper. Gotta scratch that itch, gotta scratch them ticks. Ain't rich, but I might be. And I'ma shoot these flicks, I'ma turn these tricks, anything for a slight fee. Yeah, made in America. Mama told me that I belong here. Had to earn our stripes, had to learn our rights, had to fight for a home here. But I wouldn't know a thing about that. All I know is drugs and rap. I probably could have been some kind of doctor instead of holding guns and crack. I was born in the mainland, great-grandpa from a strange land. He was stripped away and given bricks to lay. I guess you could say he a slave hand, but I was made in America, so I don't know a thing about that. All I know is Uncle Sam looking for me, working on his corner, so I know I gotta pay tax. Getting paid in America, I was raised in America, and this is all I ever known. If I'm wrong, then you better come save me, America. Welcome to 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 America. Man, I die for America. I served my time for America. Got shot back, went to war, got back, and ain't nobody give a jack in America. I could've lost my life, why I lost my wife? I can't even get right in my homeland. Cold sweats, whole text, paranoid, looking out for a threat in my own land. I was trained in America. How to get up in the planes in America. Flew right into the buildings, taking out the buildings. People getting killed in America. And I'm still in America. Though America ain't feeling me, I went to war for this country. Turned around, came home, and you drilling me? When y'all free here, saying you don't wanna be here, well, you probably couldn't breathe here if I didn't load a couple magazines here. Y'all just complaining in America. I'm jumping out of military planes from America. Hey, I was made in America. That's why I'm out here saving America. I got a brother in the cemetery now cause he wanted y'all safe. And everybody want the freedom, but nobody want to hear about face. And we bled for America, to keep y'all fed in America. But what's the point of talking? A lot of y'all don't really even care, America. Welcome to 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 America. I wish I lived in America. Wanna raise my kids in America. Heard everybody rich, all I gotta do is run, jump, kick. I'm a hit in your area. So please pick me, America. I know you probably never loved me. You never hear about me on the news, and you probably never been to my country. I hear you selling education, and got clothes that you throw away. Got plenty food in your nation. I can tell cause a lot of y'all are overweight. I already work for y'all. I'm in the sweatshops making these shirts for y'all. Now I ain't getting money, go to bed hungry, but I make some exports for y'all. Y'all don't know a thing about that. You was made in America. I'm trying to find me a ticket where the sky is the limit. Catch a plane to America. It should be plain to America. Y'all blessed and you got it made. Heard y'all don't pray no more. Y'all ain't say no more. Y'all looking for another way. Well, I hope it ain't true, but I'm packing my suit. Farewell to my motherland. Said bye to my loved ones. Fate, here I come. I'm going to another land. I done made it to America. I'm amazed at America. But I couldn't get approval to stay, so they sent me away from America.
I'm afraid. X-ray Delta 1, this is Mission Control. Roger, you're 2013. Sorry you fellas are having a bit of trouble. We are reviewing telemetric information in our mission simulator and will advise.
This is Tranquility Base. The Eagle has landed. Jesus H. Christ. Houston. We're on the fucking moon. Over. Roger, Tranquility. We copy that. We cannot believe you are on the fucking moon. Repeat, cannot fucking believe it. Over. The moon, for Christ's sake. The moon. Over.
Are you quite sure?
You're cleared to hook up lunar equipment conveyor to walk, fucking walk on the moon. Over. I'm descending the ladder. See the Earth. The entire planet Earth. Love of Christ. We read you, Tranquility. Over. On the bottom rung of the ladder. Just one more step and I'm... Tranquility? Holy living fuck. Are you fucking believing this? Over. We read you. Over.
I hope the two of you are not concerned about this.
I abso-fucking-lutely am standing on the surface of the fucking moon. Am talking to you from the surface of the fucking moon. Jesus H. Christ in a chicken basket. Holy shit, Tranquility. Holy mother of fuck. The fucking moon. Over.
I can see you're really upset about this. I honestly think you ought to sit down calmly, take a stress pill, and think things over.
My God, it's full of stars.
When I was talking with the gentleman from Belcom, and we were discussing the lie, everything he was telling me was different from what we were being told was the truth. And at one point I asked him, I said, man, you guys, you lied about a lot, didn't you? And instantly he said, no, we didn't lie about certain things. We lied about everything. None of it was true. I really don't think people realize how deep the lie goes.
Space, the final frontier.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
The Vector, NASA's official logo. If you've ever looked at NASA's official logo, both their official insignia and their official seal, you'll see that the most prominent object in the seal is a red swooshing object. They call that the chevron or the vector. If you ask NASA's Public Affairs Office, this symbology is featured so heavily in their insignia and seal, they'll give you what really amounts to the standard facile cover story for the unilluminated. They'll tell you that that is a representation of a hypersonic wing design from the 1950s, which was the time the logo was created. Not exactly the case. Someone might want to ask the Russian Federal Space Agency, Roscosmos, that was formed in 1992, why they chose that same logo. And while you're at it, you can go ask the Chinese, who formed their space agency in 1996, why in the world they're using a hypersonic wing design from the 1950s as their official logo. Then you can ask the Japanese, the South Koreans, Taiwanese, Malaysia, Mexico, Iran, all of these countries, even Bulgaria, they all utilize the vector symbology in their space agency logos for their national space agencies. It gets even deeper. You can go look at the individual manned program patches for NASA. The Mercury program, for example, a blatant use of covert symbology. In every logo dealing with the Mercury program, you'll see what looks like a number 7 in their logo. And again, NASA's official story is that they put this number 7 there so that they could pay homage to the original 7 Mercury astronauts. Kind of forgetting the fact that only 6 Mercury astronauts actually flew into space, because number 7 never did. Deke Slayton had a heart problem, so he didn't get to go up. So there were only 6 Mercury astronauts. Yet there's a 7 in every single logo. That's in the official mission or official program insignia for Mercury, as well as the 6 individual mission patches carry this logo. And it carries on to the Space Shuttle program. If you look at the Apollo logo has a big letter A in it. At least that's what they want you to believe, but it's not. Again, that's just a simple way of explaining away the inclusion of this vector symbology in the logo. If you go to the Space Shuttle program, the original Space Shuttle STS program patch is a triangular patch that, again, hides the use of the chevronic vector symbology. And that also goes for many of the STS-specific mission patches. Every single one of the International Space Station expedition patches carry the vector symbology. The Russian Mir space station used the vector symbology. That was their official logo. You can even go deeper and look at military-industrial complex companies. Look at the logo on a company like Lockheed Martin, 2 vectors. The X-Prize logo, Ames Research Labs, U.S. Space Command. When you get into the military realm, the United States Space Command, their official logo is the vector symbol. And when you look at the military's individual space-specific programs, all of them deal with vector symbology in their official insignias. And the question really becomes, who or what are these people paying homage to? And the truth, quite frankly, is out of this world.
This painting, entitled The Madonna with Saint Giovannino, was made sometime during the 1400s. The artist's name is not known, but at first glance you can notice a UFO shape in the sky to the right side of the Madonna. If you were to see the original full-size painting, you would see the object clearly. Looking at the enlargement, you can see a man and his dog standing and looking up at the object. However, this painting has something else being depicted. On the left side of the painting, you see the sun and some vector-like objects seemingly flying from or toward the sun. Perhaps this artist was trying to tell us something. In another painting of the Madonna made by a completely different artist, the unusual patterns of the sun and the vector-like symbols have also been added prominently on the Madonna's cloak. You can see the same symbology on this painting as on the one before. This time, however, there is no UFO object to be seen anywhere in the sky. This footage was taken over Mexico City in 2002. There were many other videos and photographs taken of this same type of object, clearly resembling the shapes as seen on the visor of the astronaut, on the moon, and depicted in the 14th century paintings of the Madonna and Child. There is probably a larger story behind the vectors, but it is very unusual this symbology has been adapted by all the United States and foreign space agencies, especially enemies like Iran.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. 10. Ground control 9, to Major Tom. 8, 7, 6. Commencing countdown, engines on. 7, 6, 5. Check ignition and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade, and the papers want to know whose shirts you wear. Now it's time to leave the capsule if you dare. This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm stepping through the door, and I'm floating in a most peculiar way, and the stars look very different today. For here am I sitting in a tin can.
again. Everything that I'd owned, I threw it out the windows, came along. Extreme waves I know will part the colors of my sea. Perfect color me. Extreme waves that held me out late at night. Extreme places I had gone, but never see any light. Dirty basements, dirty noise, dirty places coming through. Extreme worlds alone. Did you ever like it, Pam? I would stand in line for this. There's always room in life for this. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Then it fell apart. It fell apart. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Then it fell apart. It fell apart. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Then it fell apart. It fell apart. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Like it always does. Always does. Extreme sounds have told me, they held me down every night. I didn't have much to say, I didn't give up the light. I closed my eyes and closed myself and closed my world and never opened up to anything that could get me at all. I had to close down everything, I had to close down my mind. Too many things caught me, too much could make me blind. I've seen so much in so many places, so many heartaches, so many faces, so many dirty things you couldn't even believe. I would stand in line for this. It's always good in life for this. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Then it fell apart. It fell apart. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Then it fell apart. It fell apart. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Then it fell apart. It fell apart. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Like it always does. Always does. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Then it fell apart. Extreme ways are back again. Extreme places I didn't know. I broke everything new again. Everything that I'd owned, I threw it out the windows, came along. Extreme waves I know will part the colors of my sea. Perfect color me. Extreme waves that held me out late at night. Extreme places I had gone, but never see any light. Dirty basements, dirty noise, dirty places coming through. Extreme worlds alone. Did you ever like it, Pam? I would stand in line for this. There's always room in life for this. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Then it fell apart. It fell apart. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Then it fell apart. It fell apart. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Then it fell apart. It fell apart.
The shadow of the Undertaker creeps across your floor. Go lock up all your children and paint blood upon your door. These hills are filled with whispers. Of a man all dressed in black. At the toll of death's knell, he climbs from hell to drag some poor soul back.
Submit to the Lord!
Why don't you try it?
One bad apple, people. That's all it takes. One bad apple, and the whole barrel is spoiled. Do you want to save that barrel? Then throw out that apple. Cast it away. But if you fail to destroy that apple, who will carry the blame? It is said that in the city of Shechem, every man was punished for the sins of one man. And the punishment was death.
The Undertaker's coming.
Who's he coming for?
Well, it ain't gonna be me.
Children! Stay with me! Do not abandon me, children!
Sorry, Father.
No!
That old Bible speaks of angels doing service unto the Lord. The Undertaker knows no master. He drinks from any cup poured. Just as banshees wail their warnings that someone that same day will die. The Undertaker, he states the same, and I'll be goddamned if he tells a lie.
Who's he coming for?
Not me, Lord.
Lord, have mercy.
Lord, call upon us, guide us, call upon us, guide us.
Yes, Father.
The Lord is testing us, people. For 7 days, We have been tormented because that son of perdition refuses to fear the Lord. How long must we suffer from his wicked ways? The Lord wants us to destroy the bad apple, and with his sword in my hand, I say, the blasphemer shall be stoned! Let he who is without sin cast the first stone.
It ain't gonna be me!
Father, you have brought this upon us!
The Undertaker raises no hand, but I'll fear him just the same. His presence foretells both blood and death, yet he shoulders not the blame. Like the shadow of the vulture circling blackly overhead, the Undertaker is drawn to death like a knife is drawn to red.
Hey guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube, and I wanted to do a video here about the Antichrist. What is the Antichrist? I want to talk about the greatest false flag that's ever going to be played in this world. A false flag of galactic proportions. Let's take a look at some of the ways that we've been mind controlled and conditioned to believe a certain way to set us up for, once again, this great false flag that approaches. Now, the best way to start is right here with some of the basics. What is this? What is this image that we're looking at? Who is that? What is that? We've been conditioned to believe that this is the devil from the Bible, right? It's the same image played out time and time again in all forms of media. This is the devil, right? We've been so inundated with that image, we even have it on a lot of our products, like deviled ham. This is how the devil is portrayed on South Park. So again, the red skin, the goatee, the horns. Even the so-called Church of Satan perpetuates this idea, continues to put forth this propaganda that this is what the devil is and what it's all about. But what does the devil really look like, and how does anybody know what it looks like? Why have we been given those same images for so long? I mean, if you look at images of Satan or the devil with horns and a pitchfork and all this stuff, it's completely inaccurate, at least according to the Bible. And if you use the Bible as your authority, then the devil looks nothing like anything we've imagined up to now. His name was originally Lucifer, and he was described as one of the greatest creations from God. He was the greatest of all the angels and the most powerful being that God had ever created, including any human being ever made. So when he was created by God, there was nothing like him in the entire universe and in all of God's creation. That's kind of a big deal. If anything, this would be more of an accurate portrayal of what the devil may look like. And this is from Ezekiel. You'll find God actually describing him, saying that, "Thus says the Lord God, you had the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering, the ruby, the topaz, the diamond, the onyx, the jasper, the turquoise, and the emerald, and the gold. The workmanship of your settings and sockets was in you. On the day that you were created, they were prepared. You were the anointed cherub who covers, and I placed you there. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked in the midst of the stones of fire. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created, until unrighteousness was found in you. He is the light bringer. Satan was of the highest rank of all angels created, greater in power and rank than Michael and Gabriel. But Satan's pride caused his downfall, and he managed to convince 1/3 of the angels to rebel with him, and these rebellious angels became demons. This is explained in Revelation, where it says, "Another sign appeared in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his heads were 7 diadems. And his tail swept away 1/3 of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth." So they too are powerful, but not near as powerful as Satan or as Michael or as Gabriel. So just as a quick recap on that, chances are the devil would look more like this picture right here than this thing right here. Okay, so now we have this image. What is this? What is this? We're told that this is an angel. These are angels. Guardian angel, right? This is a guardian angel. And again, this image of angels has been perpetuated and put forth on us through all forms of media for a very, very long time. But is this really what an angel looks like? And that's not even to mention how sexualized these images have become. This idea of what an angel is so sexualized now. So where do we get the idea that this is what an angel looks like? Once again, this is more of that propaganda. These are lies that have been perpetuated on us for centuries. People are convinced that angels look something like this. Maybe not like this woman, but that they're beautiful. They have big white wings. They float around in the clouds, playing harps. But what do angels really look like? So there are several different kinds of angels in the Bible, and you've probably heard of some of them, like the archangels, the cherubim, and the seraphim. And they all look different, and very few actually have wings. But those who do, like the seraphim, this image you're looking at right here, actually have 6 wings, and they needed all of them to cover their body, lest they blind or incinerate. And while we're on the subject, you can also look at the term thrones. We're told about thrones in the Bible, right? But it's not exactly like a throne you would sit on. In this particular case, these thrones are described in the Bible as wheels within wheels, and the rims of which are covered in eyes. So once again, just trying to show you that maybe the terms we're given sometimes and the meaning we place on them and the images we place on them automatically aren't exactly the truth. Another example of kind of the lies we've been told, or at least the lies we've bought about what an angel looks like. It's a case right here. You know, we also have the cutest order of angels, right? The cherubim. And as we all know, a cherub is a baby angel, really cute, usually with a little bow and arrow, and has a little leaf protecting their modesty. Except that in Ezekiel 10:14, angels are described as frightening, four-headed monstrosities that include the faces of a man, an eagle, and a lion. So this right here is a big difference from this right here. Wouldn't you agree? And of course, we also have to talk about the image of Jesus that we've been given, right? Now, how do we know exactly what he looks like? And there's scriptures on this, and there's great debates all across the board. We have the Shroud of Turin. There's been a lot of work with the Shroud of Turin, trying to make up, what he looks like. Looking at some of the things from the Bible that are said about Jesus, and there's really not much when it comes to his looks. The earliest apparent representations of Jesus that we know of are from the Roman catacombs. The art was stereotypical, I guess you could say, as were other portraits of that period. In those portraits, Jesus was portrayed beardless as the Good Shepherd, but by the 4th century, he had grown a beard and began to look much more familiar, at least much more like this image right here. In my study, the Bible never actually gives any real physical description of Christ so much. The closest thing I could find is in Isaiah, where it said he had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. And that tells me that his appearance was just like any other man. He was a regular guy. Isaiah was here prophesying that the coming suffering servant would arise in lowly conditions and wear none of the usual emblems of royalty, making his true identity visible only to those with the discerning eyes of faith. Isaiah further describes the appearance of Christ as he would appear as he was being scourged prior to his crucifixion. He says, his appearance was so disfigured beyond that of any man, and his form marred beyond human likeness. So these words describe the inhuman cruelty that he had to suffer, to the point that he no longer even looked human at all. His appearance was so awful that people looked at him in astonishment. So most of the images we have of Jesus today probably aren't even really accurate. I mean, Jesus was a Jew. He was Jewish, so he likely had darker skin, dark eyes, and dark hair. And this is a far cry from the European Caucasian Jesus in most modern portrayals. But one thing is clear, if it weren't important for us to know what he really did look like, Matthew, Peter, and John, who spent 3 years with him, would certainly be able to give us an accurate description, as would his own brothers, James and Jude. Yet these New Testament writers offer no details about his physical attributes. Now, I realize that some of this is kind of uncomfortable for some of you out there, but it's very important to understand these things, especially considering where we're at right now and the times we're in. And this is why I'm trying to show you this. There's more things I want to show you here. The idea is so that you can understand the level of deception all of us have been bathed in since birth. We were born into this. And I believe all of it is setting humanity itself up for, again, what is going to be the greatest false flag ever played out on this planet in mankind's history. And to perfectly play out this deception, all these other deceptions needed to be in place all along. I want to show you some more things here. Sometimes I think people get a little confused with the term Antichrist also. The Antichrist is mentioned 4 times in the Bible, and each time described in a similar way. Now this right here is from John in the Bible, and it says, "Many deceivers who do not acknowledge Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh have gone out into the world. Any such person is the deceiver and the Antichrist." And then we look into the book of Revelation, and it does speak of characters who are going to help usher in the end of days. For example, we have the false prophet who looks like a lamb and talks like a dragon. And we also have the beasts. So now here's we're going to start getting a little bit deeper into the deception. Okay, so I mean, you can just go to any internet search engine and type in Obama Antichrist, and you're going to get tons and tons and tons of pages of many people saying that he is the Antichrist, that he's the one, right? That he's the big guy. Now, there's no doubt that he is certainly an Antichrist, but I don't believe he is the final Antichrist. In fact, I believe he's the third beast. Not long ago, the History Channel did a Bible story, did a whole mini-series on the Bible, and the devil character in that series, as you can see right here, looked a lot like Obama. Now, I personally believe this is all a part of that deception once again, that we have been deceived in many ways to think that Obama's it, that he is the Antichrist. You know, it's over after this, there's nothing else to wait for, like this is it, he's the bad guy, he's it. But I'm telling you, once again, we have been bathed in deception since birth into this world. So many lies, and so deep the deceptions go. And this is yet another one right here. I firmly believe that the powers that be have been putting forth this idea for a long time that Obama's the one, Obama's the Antichrist. And again, as I tell you, he certainly is playing his role in these times. And absolutely he is an Antichrist, but he is not the Antichrist, or a better way of putting it is he's not the fourth beast. So just keep in mind that in this video we're exploring some different angles. I'm posing some questions. I know a lot of people will have a lot of things to say about some of this information, and that's good. I want you to. That's what this is all about. You know, you bring your pieces of the puzzle to the table as well. Let's put all this stuff together. So this may take you out of your comfort zones. I understand that, but sometimes we need to, just to keep an open mind and explore some different possibilities. But here's something that made me really consider Obama being possibly more like the third beast as opposed to the actual, if you will, Antichrist, or the main player, the main beast. But this right here was tweeted out after gay marriage was legalized throughout the nation of America. And this comes from Obama in the White House. And it says, "Marriage equality, now the law of the land." What's most important and most telling here and most interesting is the shape. And as you can see it right there, it's the shape of a leopard. And certainly that's not by mistake. It's one thing I do here on my channel. You may not be familiar with my work. If you're not, please check out some of my videos, and you'll see that oftentimes we're looking for more of a language coming through in the spiritual. But these videos I do and a lot of the information I get into is for people that have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, if you will. A lot of this comes through in the spiritual, especially in these days and times we're in, where I believe the veil is lifting very quickly. So isn't that interesting that they would tweet this? And once again, we have this interesting subliminal message going back to something biblical associated with Obama being the third beast. So this is from Daniel chapter 7 verse 6. It says, "After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it." So another character that's mentioned from Daniel, and this also has to do with end times prophecy, is the little horn. At one point, a little horn came up between the 10 horns. It had eyes like the eyes of a man. Suggests that this king will be an intellectual genius with some kind of penetrating insight and discernment. He also has a mouth that speaks boastfully. This suggests a very persuasive orator, which at the same time blasphemes God. And we've seen Obama do this time and time again as well, right? Some people call the little horn the Antichrist as well, or the man of lawlessness. And it says here, "Don't let anyone deceive you in any way, for that day will not come until the rebellion occurs and the man of lawlessness is revealed," or is the Antichrist, the man doomed to destruction. He will oppose and will exalt himself over everything that is called God or is worshipped, so that he sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. So the little horn will be satanically inspired according to Revelation. And men worshipped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast. And they also worshipped the beast and asked, "Who is like the beast? Who can make war against him?" And the beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies and to exercise his authority for 42 months. He opened his mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. So we got the beast, you got the little horn, you got the man of lawlessness, we have the Antichrist. Many of these terms are describing the same being. Now again, like I said, this is where it gets really tricky, and I don't argue Bible prophecy, I don't argue Scripture. I'm not the greatest at Scripture. This is why I'm telling you that I'm putting these things together, I'm posing some questions, and I think these are things that we should really look at. These are very deceptive times we're in. And there's a lot of different interpretations of what all of this stuff means. But that's why I wanted to make this video. I think these are the days where it's a really good time to start looking into this stuff even more. Trying to break it down and understand what exactly is taking place and what is it exactly we're looking for. So there's a lot of things to consider because there's definitely no room for misunderstanding at this point in the game with all the things that are happening. And I'm doing my own study as well, but here's a few questions I'll pose for you. You know, who or what is the beast of Revelation 13 and 17? Is it a man? Is it a church? Is it a government? Is it an empire? Also, who is the woman of Revelation 17? What is the mark of the beast exactly? What is the image of the beast that all the people are going to worship? I would say who is the false prophet, but it's beginning to look more and more like it's the Pope. It's the Jesuit Pope. When will these things occur? How long must we wait to see these things happen? How will world trends, conditions, and events spawn the beast's arrival? Why is it so important to correctly identify these things related to prophecy? You know, how is it going to affect us? The Bible speaks of several different beasts, and to understand them all, each must be explained separately. In Revelation 13, it speaks of a beast in its first 7 verses. Another beast ridden by a woman is described in Revelation 17. And then Daniel 7 speaks of 4 separate beasts with a reference to a little horn that appears during the time of the 4th beast. Revelation 13 describes a second 2-horned beast beginning in verse 11. And in Daniel 2, it describes a giant image of a man composed of 4 separate metals. Relative to most of those descriptions, a specific number of heads, horns, and toes are also mentioned. So no wonder this subject is so confusing, right? I mean, it just goes all over the place, or at least it can. And it does require thorough explanation. And God does supply the clues, the critical knowledge we need to unlock all of these mysteries. But still, with all the divisions and all the different interpretations, so many people have so many different ideas about what all of this means. And again, this is the purpose of this video, is to explore some of these ideas, and more specifically, a lot of the deception that we've been brought up in. Because I'm about to go to the next level of this video, and I needed to show you all that stuff first, so you can get a better understanding of what it is I want to try to show you next here. So check some of this out. Now, some of you may remember this image right here. I covered this in a few videos as well. And as you can see just behind Obama, there's the horns. Now, if this is the only picture of its type and the only thing that we could ever associate Obama with the devil or whatever, then sure, you know, it'd be kind of a what if, or maybe that happened. But again, you may be new to this subject, and if you are, please do a little research on, just look up Obama Antichrist. That seems to be the most popular search term. And when you do, you're going to find a lot of very interesting things with Obama. A lot of things that have a connection with Satanism, the devil. There's a lot of weird numerology surrounding Obama. There's all kinds of things surrounding Obama that's unusual. And like I said, they put stuff out like this. Now, on one hand, you can say this came through on the spiritual. You know, this is God showing us these things and letting us know that this man is evil, or he is an antichrist. Some people would say this means that he is the Antichrist. But see, they've been doing this stuff with Obama for a very, very long time. Here's just one example. Some of you may remember this, but as you can see, it has John 3:16 here, a picture of Obama in his office. And this is actually from a calendar for Obama and for the White House. And you can see the connection right there again with John 3:16 and Obama, right? And at the top is his certificate of live birth. I'm not sure which copy. You know, they did so many fake copies came out of that. And again, that's just one of them. And of course, that's just one of the things that don't add up with Obama. But then again, the media made a mockery out of the whole birth certificate situation. But meanwhile, there's a lot of other signs that come through that Obama's not exactly a good guy, and certainly an agent of the enemy, if you will. And of course, here's just a couple of other examples of this, again, equating Obama to God, or mocking Jesus Christ, you know, the second coming with Obama right here. Now, like I said, there's plenty of this stuff out there. Most of you are already familiar with all this stuff. It's very obvious they've been putting this idea out there for a long time. So what is it that they're really trying to do? Is this the world telling us that this is the Antichrist, that he's the final beast, the final Antichrist, the real deal, the son of perdition, you know, the lawless one? Could he just be another player in all this? Is there something coming after him? Could it also be the spiritual working through Obama just to mock God and mock Christ? Just for the sake of? All of these are possibilities. But again, the question is this it? Is he the one? Is he the final beast? Is he the real Antichrist? Okay, so keeping all that in mind, I want to bring it back to Obama here for just a moment, and I want you to show you this right here. And this is a card from the Illuminati card game. If you're not familiar with the Illuminati card game, please look it out. It's been around for decades now, and it actually shows a lot of things in the game that have actually taken place since its conception. Now, those of us who study these kind of things and understand these kind of things do know that this Illuminati they're basically Satanists. These are witches, these are warlocks, these are the people at the top of the pyramid, so to speak, and they operate through the occult or through the hidden. They use subliminal messages. They utilize the language of symbolism. They cast spells. This is lesser magic. And the Illuminati card game is an excellent example of that. And so that brings me back to this card right here, again, from the Illuminati card game. It's called Backlash. And many people believe that this is representing Obama. It's very interesting, because remember when he first got elected, I mean, the whole world was in love with Obama. It was all about Obama. And he maintained that for quite a while, but it started slipping, right? People started seeing past it. And then came all the theories that this guy could be the Antichrist. And then came all the obvious signs coming out that there's definitely something afoot with this man. There's something evil going on with President Obama, beyond just being a narcissistic Democrat. Okay, we're looking into the spiritual here, and there have been a lot of very interesting spiritual connections with him that show a darkness, a dark spirit around him or within him. But now we have backlash, and it's interesting because even some of my friends who were very liberal, that I remember were all about Obama many years ago, I'm seeing these people turn around on him now too. So I mean, I really think a lot of people are starting to see it, and they're turning on Obama. And remember now, this Antichrist that's supposed to show up on the world scene is going to be loved and adored by the entire world. And if Jesus doesn't come back soon, it even says in the Bible that even the very elect may fall prey to this huge deception. So this is going to be a big, big deal. Now again, I'm not here to argue this or whatever. You know, some people want to believe that he's the final one. Then you're welcome to it. You know, please leave your comments below. This is what this video is all about. Let's open a dialogue, right? But one of the main points of my video is to show you this stuff and to show you what we may be getting set up for. Again, if everybody's convinced that Obama's the Antichrist and he's the main guy, what's going to happen when this next thing shows up on the scene, this next person, right, that the world loves, that seems like a really great guy, you know, making all the right choices, doing all the right things, saying all the right things. It really makes me wonder if Obama's whole role in all of this, and again with all the media behind him and everything else, pushing this idea that he's mocking God and mocking Christ, and that he is the Antichrist, and he's a bad, bad man, and he's obviously pulling the entire world together in this one world order. We see all this. I've covered this in multiple videos. He's definitely playing his part, right? But what if his part to play is to be the bad guy? His part to play is to have all the backlash, is to have all the hatred on him eventually, right? To have the whole world turn against him, you know, all the horrible things he's done. And he's still not done yet. I mean, he still has over a year left in office, and there's a lot to come from Obama. A lot of bad things still to come out of Obama. And he really has changed the face of the world in a lot of ways. But like I said, we have the backlash. You know, people are starting to wake up. They're turning against him. There's a lot of hatred towards Obama on a global scale. So let's say he continues this path of destruction. How much more is the entire world going to be waiting on a savior, right? The entire world is going to be waiting on someone to show up on the scene to stop all this madness. Well, bear with me then, guys, because I want to take a really hard left turn here. And let's take a look at some of these possibilities of who this next character might be. Remembering that Obama has set the stage. Obama has set the world stage for this next leader, right? There's so much distrust in government. There's so much distrust in all these global systems of government. There's so much division and chaos and hatred spread all around the world right now, and it's only increasing. The world is ready for a savior. But who or what will that savior be? So many of you know I've been making videos, I've done radio shows, I had websites, made a movie, I've done all kinds of stuff in many years covering this subject and all different angles of this subject, among other subjects. But one thing that I've been waiting on for a long time, and I know many of you are as well, is the coming alien deception. Again, I've covered this subject time and time again. I certainly don't believe there's little aliens out there in the galaxies or anything like that. I believe it has to do with the enemy and his little minions. And this is all going to potentially be a part, in my eyes, of that great galactic false flag. So keep an open mind with me and roll with me on this. And I want to show you a few things that I think are very interesting. And again, just things to consider. Just to consider how deep this deception may actually go. And the possibility that many of us may actually be alive to see it when it happens. The Pleiades are also known as M45, or the Seven Sisters. It's the name of an open cluster in the constellation of Taurus. And it's among the nearest to the Earth of all open clusters, probably the best known and certainly the most striking to the naked eye. As of me making this video, there's so much happening in the world that's showing that we literally are moving towards a new world order. I mean, the Pope just said we need a new world order. And like I said, any politician you look at nowadays has already mentioned the new world order. So this is what we're heading towards. This is what they want. It's to be a one world order, a one world currency, and it'll also be a one world religion. And that's the key to this. What will be that religion? What will be the one world religion? Now I believe this is where a lot of the New Age mysticism is going to come in. There's this whole theory, of course, of these light beings that come from the Pleiades. These are the Pleiadians, also known as the Nordic aliens. And they're supposed to be humanoid aliens that come from the stellar systems surrounding the Pleiades stars. And they're really, really concerned about the Earth and our future. So concerned, in fact, that they've apparently contacted certain special people to channel for them and convey their message, which isn't always consistent. The Pleiadians either came from a group called the Lyrans or coexisted with the Lyrans, or the distinctions between the Lyran, the Pleiadian, and the Sirians doesn't really exist. It gets very confusing, is what I'm trying to tell you. What I find really interesting about this is the only real history you can find with these things is through people who've been channeling them. And we learned about what they look like in different aspects. Apparently their beauty is reminiscent of the African Egyptian gods and goddesses, or angels even, as we're told, who are usually pleasing to look at, they say. These human aliens have been a staple of science fiction, though, from the very beginning. We've seen that time and time again, haven't we? But the Pleiadians and the Nordic aliens were a staple of the early contactee trend with people like George Adamaski. So I really started looking into the Pleiadians. Now, the Pleiades is actually mentioned in the Bible, and I'm not saying that that star cluster is evil or anything at all like that, okay? I mean, God created everything. Of course, the enemy distorts everything and perverts everything, right? And it's really interesting when I started looking into this, because you start asking yourself, you know, where do we get the history of these beings? How do we know anything about them? And as I studied, I started to find out, well, there's a lot of different ideas there. Some people that are involved with this kind of belief actually think that the 144,000 mentioned in the Bible are actually the Pleiadians. Now, of course, I disagree with that. And again, the comments section is below. I would love to see people's comments on these things. I just see all of this as one more example of the deep deception that we're all in, and of a deep deception that's coming. There's a lot of New Age mystics out there, gurus, there's people all over the place who believe they've been channeling these Pleiadians, and they're channeling this information, and they're making buku dollars on writing books about this stuff. But if you start going to the websites and you start looking at the symbolism, and as you know from my channel, the language of symbolism is very real, and there's much more truth to the language of symbolism than what people say, than people's words. People lie all the time. There's a lot of deception there. But with symbols you can find truth. You can find the real intention. As you can see right here, it's just right in front of your face. I mean, you have all the pyramids within pyramids. We've seen all this before. I always equate this to what I call the beast system. And right there in the middle, of course, is a huge star of Ishtar, or you could call it the Star of Babylon. This is another very popular occult symbol that you can find in all kinds of things, all the way back to Egypt, further back to Babylon. And all of these are just elements in my eyes, once again, to that beast system, to this devilish deception that the enemy has created on this earth. So a lot of the ideas that are put forth from these so-called Pleiadians, it's all the same stuff I've seen in all kinds of books of the occult, theosophy. It's what we call New Age. This is all just New Age religious belief. Essentially, all of it is telling you that you are your own God. So we go back to that again, right? It all goes back to the whole idea that you are your own God. You don't need any kind of a creator. You don't need any kind of a savior. You need to find the God within you. So again, without getting too deep into all the history, because again, what is the history of this stuff? It's all stuff channeled from other beings, right? Now, I never personally trust anything like that. You're not supposed to be channeling or having seances or trying to talk to these angelic beings or any of this kind of stuff, man. It's all deception, right? It's all deception. And speaking of deception, we've been programmed for a really long time with a lot of this stuff that has to do with the Pleiadians. I'm going to show you a few things here. So quickly now, back to the ancient aliens, or the alien deception, the alien demonic deception. I've covered this in a lot of other videos in the past, but it begs repeating in this video here. But quickly, let's go back to the whole idea of the ancient aliens and the propaganda that's pushed forth on this television show. Now, I've covered this time and time again. As I said, we're literally entering the fifth age. We're coming really close to the age of the revealed Antichrist. Okay, whatever this being is going to be, whatever label you want to put on it, this thing is going to be showing up on the world stage, I believe, very soon. And you can see how religion has been chipped away and fallen apart now for a really long time. And in some respects, that's a great thing, I see. And in other respects, it's going to be really bad because people are going to be completely lost. And when this stuff hits, when we start getting this contact with these things, whatever they are, whether they call themselves Pleiadians or whatever it's going to be, you know, they're going to be aliens, right? And they're going to be here to help us. Once these things or this thing shows up on the world stage, all bets are off. If people don't have real faith and a real understanding of the spiritual and a real connection with God, the Supreme Being, the Father, the Creator, they're going to be completely lost and overwhelmed by all this stuff. So again, Ancient Aliens has been pushing this idea for a very long time about our alien designers, our alien gods. And they've done plenty of things on the Pleiadians as well. Now, I think an excellent example of this programming of these alien gods comes from the movie Prometheus. You may remember this scene from pretty early on in the movie of a technologically advanced Rubik's Cube. And I think symbolically they were setting the stage by showing us this with the riddle. This whole movie really is a riddle, and it really does have to do with these ancient aliens, our ancient gods. So in the movie, the whole mission wouldn't have been possible if they hadn't discovered these star maps. And at one point they say, these are images of archaeological digs all over the earth, ancient civilizations that shared no contact, and yet the same pictogram showing men worshiping giant beings pointing to the stars was discovered at every last one of them. Now, believe it or not, this is exactly what ancient artifacts suggest in real life. And this is what the whole idea behind many of the episodes of Ancient Aliens is. So the star map in the movie is actually based off of the real star map of the Pleiades star cluster found in the leg of the Taurus constellation. And in the movie, the star map is depicted by 6 stars, but in real life, the Pleiades is depicted by either 6 or 7 stars. And that's because only 6 of the stars in the cluster are visible to the naked eye, although every ancient civilization knew that there were 7 stars. So legends would usually draw attention to this fact. NASA has confirmed using X-ray imaging that there are 7 stars that are much brighter than the surrounding star clusters. Now, something else I thought was really interesting in the movie is that they actually land on the planet they're going to on Christmas Day. So of course I found that a very clear but subtle reference to the birth of the Son of God, Jesus Christ. And also the engineer's base on the planet, LV-223, was built approximately 2,000 years before, they say, coinciding with the birth of Jesus once again in a very subtle way. And we're almost completely wiped out by unknown forces. And of course the iconic monolith head found in the ceremonial room with the engineer's pyramid resembles the Eastern Island figures on Earth. It's also more closely resembling the Olmec head sculptures found in Mesoamerica, which there are at least 17 found there already. It's believed that the monuments represent portraits of these very powerful individual Olmec rulers from long time ago. And in the movie you get the sense that these engineers may also be artistic and of course somewhat religious. Something else I found really interesting is they had sleep chambers on board their ship in Prometheus. And of course
see you again, but to tell you the truth, Greta, I'm glad to be anywhere.
Besides
Well,
prison, for one.
I come from 7 years up at Rochester. I want to say hello to Dre Maddox and Freddie McKnight and all those guys up there. A lot of good guys I met. They're sort of like family in a way. It's a different experience.
So you made friends in prison?
Absolutely. You know, Nelson Mandela made a statement. He said, if you really want to know the truth about a nation, you've got to go through their prisons. And believe me, he's right. And I learned an awful lot about America going through the prisons.
Before we get to prison and all about America, I have to ask you the headline question. Ready?
Don't say it.
I'm going to ask
because I'm going to get personal.
I'm going to ask
Get
you right
at
now.
me. Get at me, Greta.
All right. Are you going to run for Congress again?
I don't know yet. There's a lot of people that want me to run for Congress. You know, I was the #1 target of the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee and the #1 target of the Justice Department since 1983, being the only American to ever defeat him pro se in the RICO trial. And I have big enemies, but I have some grudges, and I want to go at them. I want to go at them big time, Greta. So I have to see, first of all, if I'm viable, and second of all, if the people would support me. They come in here and they fractured this district. They broke it up, certainly to make it tougher. I think they also felt they gave me a life sentence that I'd never survive in prison. Then they came to me and said if I said I was guilty, I might even get a pardon, and I told them to shove the pardon up their derriere sideways. So here I am, and if I do run, get your best hold, because I will be running downhill with my tails flapping in the wing, wide open.
What are the odds you're going to win? I mean, not you're going to win. What are the odds you're going to run?
The odds, and I've saved all comment for your show, because number one, I think you have a great show. Number two, I think you're fair, and that's not trying to patronize you. I know you're going to ask some tough questions, and I'm going to embarrass you before it's over. But I would say at this point it's 50-50, and I have a lot of people that are encouraging me to run because there's so many disenfranchised people, so many, especially in this area. And one of the concerns I have is I come home to is we have Delphi here, the salaried workers that were completely cut out and lost their pension benefits. It's going to be almost a $250 million impact to this general community. And when you look at it nationally, Dayton, Ohio is going to be hit real hard. The state of Ohio is going to get hit with about $1.5 billion in lost money, economic generation, because of this decision. And I feel, and you know my record, if we could take care of people all over the world, damn it, take care of those Delphi salaried workers, and I expect it to be done. I mean, I'm on your show here asking you and asking Mayor to look at this place, because we have here 9,500 workers. They're going to lose their pension benefits. They're going to have to pay for their hospitalization benefits. It's an immediate out-of-cost pocket of $50 million with a contributing factor of a multiplication of 2 for the general metropolitan area of $250 million impact on an economy that lost steel mills years ago and has been left behind.
All right. Grudges.
Can't have it.
Can't have it. I said, you said you had some grudges. Who are your grudges against?
Well, number one, and my wife constantly reminds me to tone down. I brought that guy back from Israel, John Deminick. It was my Freedom of Information Act, which proved not only that he was innocent, but who Ivan really was. The case was so sensitive, members of Congress would say, Jim, I love you, but please don't involve me. I sent my evidence to the Sixth Circuit Court in Cincinnati. They wouldn't accept it. I finally sent it over to Israel, to the Israeli Supreme Court, and they called me over there, and I went with the family. I did a live interview, satellite, with Brian Gumbel, and I said, when they put this innocent man to death, they're going to lose $15 to $20 billion every year they get from the American taxpayers. And Brian Gumbel says, what are you talking about? You only get $3 billion. And I said, Brian, that's only the foreign aid bill. Look at all the other trade compacts, economic assistance, military assistance. I am saying this to you right now. Israel gets approximately $15 billion a year from the American taxpayers. That $15 billion is $30,000 for every man, woman, and child. And people in my district are losing their pension benefits. So I was targeted big time.
By the Israelis.
The Israeli Supreme Court looked at the evidence, could not refute it. and it came from the Justice Department, Greta, and they said take him home. I brought him home, and he was bombarded ever since.
Home to Ohio.
Now he's in Germany fighting for his life. Now let me say this. Prosecutor Moskowitz of the OSI Office of the United States Justice Department suborned perjury with Otto Horn. The documents clearly state who Ivan the Terrible was, a man named Ivan Marchenko, not Demyanjuk. And they had to release him. And now they can't live with it. They couldn't live with Jim Trafficking, having beaten him in 1983. I was a walking symbol of defiance. And now they have this man in Germany. And if someone doesn't look into this, the American people should be ashamed of themselves. When you allow one American to be violated, you threaten the freedoms of every American. And I can't understand this, why no one in Congress is raising their voice. And the reason is very simple. And this may be you don't want to hear. I don't know. And I certainly don't want to hurt you on your show. You have one of the best. You're fair. But I believe that Israel has a powerful stranglehold on the American government. They control both members of the House and the Senate. They have us involved in wars of which we have little or no interest. Our children are coming back in body bags. Our nation is bankrupt over these wars. And if you open your mouth, you get targeted. And if they don't beat you at the poll, they'll put you in prison.
All right, two quick things. One is the Israelis released Demyanjuk back to the United States, right?
The Israeli Supreme Court, and I give them credit.
Give them credit.
I give them credit, big time.
All right, the second thing is Israel is a democracy and is our ally.
Yes,
right?
they are.
So you have no...
And they should be our ally. They are our friends over in that troubled part of the world.
So explain to me what you see as, why you target or why you have a grudge against the Israelis.
The grudge is not necessarily a grudge. It's an objective assessment that no one will have the courage to speak about. They're controlling much of our foreign policy. They're influencing much of our domestic policy. Wolfowitz, as Undersecretary of Defense, manipulated President Bush #2 back into Iraq. They pushed definitely to try and get Bush before he left to move into Iran. We're conducting an expansionist policy of Israel, and everybody's afraid to say it. They control much of the media, they control much of the commerce of the country, and they control powerfully both bodies of the Congress. They own the Congress.
Are you an anti-Semite?
No, I'm not. That's exactly what they're going to say, and I expect that. What I am is an American. You see, I think America comes first, and we have a one-sided foreign policy in the Mideast, and we've alienated Arabs who have no way of fighting. So what they've done, and I predicted this on the House floor, is they would export violence to America, and they have. They have no other way to fight. I think President Obama knows this. I think he sees this. I think he wants to do something. I think his hands are tied. And I think he's dancing between the raindrops, trying to figure how I can politically machinate some scenario to mitigate these problems. Greta, I'm saying this. America is in danger if America doesn't take back the government without foreign interference.
Up next, how bad was prison for former Congressman Trafficking? Did he cry? Did he feel alone? Was he punished inside the prison? He's going to tell you all the raw details of prison coming up.
You people, you know we've been lied to, right? Well, I made a list. I call it my top 20. And the following information is based on facts and requires immediate attention. And these are things that you should do a search for. This is my list of top 20 lies. Number 1. Search for the true legal definition of the words person, citizen, corporation, and statute. Also, summons and the word must. They mean completely different things than what you thought they did in our world of law. You can search for the term straw man illusion, legal fiction, your legal fiction, and maritime admiralty law. That's maritime admiralty law. Do a search here on YouTube. You'll find a world of information on that. Number 2, fluoride, also known as rat poisoning. Go to a hardware store, look on the back of one of them rat poisoning containers. The main ingredient is sodium fluoride. It's also the main ingredient in a very well-known antidepressant known as Prozac. And it was first introduced and given to the Jews during the World War II. And it was put in their water. And it made them very complacent, docile, and just easier to control. Number 3, HAARP. Search the word HAARP, H-A-A-R-P, HAARP. High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project. What they do with this is they modify weather and among other things. Number 4, chemtrails. Chemtrails contain barium oxide and aluminum oxide. Both are extremely toxic to the human body. Chemtrails are not contrails. They're not condensation trails left by planes. Normal contrails will dissipate within 15 to 30 seconds after, the plane has left that area. You don't see it anymore. It should be gone. Well, chemtrails, they stay behind. These are chemical trails that these planes are spraying and leaving behind, and they stay in the sky for hours, sometimes a whole day. They contain poisons. Look it up. They were first noticed in 1997. Number 5, the 13 ruling families, also called the 13 ancient bloodlines that have always ruled this world, and they still do. I believe one of the top ones on that list is the Rothschild family. The Rothschilds, they own like 80% of the world's wealth. This one family is so rich that they can feed, clothe, and shelter every man, woman, and child on the planet, this one family. Look it up. Number 6, the 3 city-states of the world that control the world. The first one would be Washington, D.C. in the United States. And Washington, D.C. is where the military control is. The second is London, England in the UK. And London, England is where the monetary control is, the money system. And the third one is the Vatican City in Rome. And the Vatican City is where spiritual control is. These are the 3 ways that they control the whole world, through the military, money, and religious and spiritual establishments. These 3 city-states have their own flags, and they're outside of the jurisdiction of the law, the rest of the country. Look it up. Number 7, the Georgia Guidestones. Do a search for that. Google it. Do a search here on YouTube for it. You'll find out a world of information. Number 8, do a search for GMO, which means genetically modified organisms. Search Monsanto and Codex Alimentarius. Do a search. Number 9, AIDS and HIV and the conspiracies, suppressed cures. In fact, there's a U.S. patent number, 5676977. That's 5676977. And supposedly it cures all blood-borne pathogens, such as AIDS. Search it. Number 10, do a search for cancer myths, facts, and cures. There have been several cancer cures. The mainstream media will not talk about this stuff. You're not going to hear it on the news or read it in the paper. There's a good documentary. It's called Run From the Cure. Run From the Cure. And it's about hemp oil and how it's cured people's cancer. As well as The Beautiful Truth is another very good documentary about natural cures to cancer, among other things. Number 11, mercury, otherwise known as thimerosal, when it's in vaccinations. It's poisonous, and it's also found in fluorescent lights. The fluorescent lights and the light bulbs, the little spiral light bulbs they're telling everybody to buy for global warming, right? Those spiral light bulbs that last for 5 years, well, those have mercury vapor inside of them. They're coated with mercury. And so are all fluorescent lights. Like the ones in department stores and stuff. They have mercury in them. okay? And mercury is very poisonous to the human body. It's also in dental fillings. When you go and have dental work, you know, dentists know this. They know it. And any doctors that speak out about fluoride or mercury are always going to be persecuted, and they're going to be shut up somehow. So do a search for that. Number 12, the H1N1 hoax, of course. I'm sure many of you know it was made in a lab, and it also contains mercury, thimerosal to be exact. And thimerosal is just a derivative of mercury. So H1N1 is a hoax. Number 13, the IRS, CIA, FBI, FCC, and NASA are and were never part of the United States government. They're not U.S. agencies, despite what you believe or what you've been told. Look it up. Number 14, global warming is not man-made. Duh. I'm sure a lot of you know that already. The main purpose of this scandal is to force a carbon tax onto the public. In fact, all planets in our entire solar system are experiencing this very same effect. They're experiencing major climate change. Number 15, fossil fuel scandal. This deserves some research. Number 16, 9/11 clues and hints in Hollywood films and productions years before it actually occurred. They show you 9/11 hints in Hollywood movies, shows, even on TV, such as The Simpsons. There's proof of this in many major films. Just Google it. Do a search here on YouTube. I'm sure you'll get, all kinds of results. Number 17, the controlled media and music industry. TV subliminals, mind programming. Google Project Paperclip, MK Ultra, and Project Monarch. Number 18, the significant links between assassinated Presidents Abe Lincoln and JFK. Also many other links between certain celebrities surrounding their deaths, such as John Lennon, Marilyn Monroe, Heath Ledger, Martin Luther King Jr., and the late Michael Jackson. Scandal surrounding their deaths. Look it up. Number 19, Osama bin Laden is actually Ted Osman. He was trained by the CIA in the 1970s, and the term or name Al-Qaeda actually translates to the database in English. It means the database. Google it, do a YouTube search. And last, but certainly not least, number 20, hidden symbolism of corporate media that's all around you, plus hidden codes on the U.S. dollar bills, 13 being a very important number to these people. So, until next time.
Guys, this is a mega news flash. Y'all have been watching, anyone that's been watching what I do, I decrypted the U.S. currency years ago, bills that no one else knew what was on those bills. That is an identical match to the side of the building of the Albert D. Moore building. I'm going to show you the old $10 bill, or the latest $10 bill. There it is. That's a tidal wave coming over a building with a radioactive sky. The sky is radioactive. There's a nuke in the background. This is tidal wave. This is a building right here, and when I move my hand, you will see this building's reflection in the water. There it is. This is the water right here. Okay, that's the $10 bill. The $100 bill has come out, the new $100 bill. This is urgent, viral, get it out. It's coming, I guarantee it. The prophetic utterance the Lord gave me in 2007, many of those things have already happened. This is the end of it.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Behold, the hand of the oppressor has been lifted against you, and out of the sea shall come fire and smoke and a devouring wind. Water as high as the walls of Jerusalem shall cover the city by the sea, and great shall be the destruction of that city.
Get ready. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Behold, the hand of the oppressor has been lifted against you. And out of the sea shall come fire and smoke and a devouring wind. Water as high as the walls of Jerusalem shall cover the city by the sea, and great shall be the destruction of that city. Here is the new $100 bill. The 10 has been turned upside down. Anyone that watches my ministry should know what that means. Here come contrails of missiles right here. There's a contrail of a missile coming in, exploding. Coming in from this side right here, exploding. The reason I'm showing it to you on this is because once you put it in a higher resolution, it's difficult to see. But with the naked eye, here again is the contrail coming in, missile exploding. This is going to be New York City, and you're going to see the water coming through now after this. Here are the buildings. Here are the buildings right here. See the buildings right here? Okay, you see all this ink right here that makes the unidirectional lines? There's darker ink in certain spots. You'll see it. Okay, these unidirectional lines is movement towards the subject, which is us. As I change the magnification, you're going to see all of this is going to turn to waves coming in from those nukes that went down, and they're going to be destroying the city. Watch. Here it goes. There it is. See it? See how it changed? See how it gets all fluffy? Boom. There it is. Buildings being wiped out. There it is. See the water? That's water. I'm going to go back. Look. There it is. Now picture the water coming at you. Boom. Boom.
The day after tomorrow, 2004.
Now picture the water coming at you. Boom, 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 boom. Devastation. Let me show you what's going to precipitate that, which is on the new $100 bill. It's coming to New York. I guarantee it. I prophesied it in 2007. It's on the 10. The Hoover Dam also event is going to happen. They've cleared out Lake Mead. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. It's printed on the money. Okay, let me show you what's going to cause this. Here's the other side of the $100 bill. I'm going to enlarge it. There you go. There it is. This is all water splashing up. This is a missile right here. There are the fins of the missile. Here's the fuselage of the missile and the head of the missile impacting into the water. This ink represents the water going up and a nuke. Watch as I change the magnification. Ready? There it is. There it is. There you go. That's what's coming. Now all you have to do is go watch the DVD we did, Destruction of America, or Crowning the Tyrant. And you'll see other images on the U.S. currency that have all been hidden right in front of your face. But if you look, there it all is. See the different layers of ink? Watch what there's a missile hitting. There it is going in. There's the water coming up and the nuke beginning. There it is. And also on this bill, there's this blue stripe. It's a hologram. What it is, it's, if I move it around, it's the Liberty Bell and it's ringing. And if you move a hologram, the hologram moves. So if there was a clanger in there and it's going like this, what would it be doing? It would be going ding, 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 ding. They are sounding their alarm. This bill is a vehicle to distribute their plans. That's what they're doing. These are their plans to nuke the United States. It's Satan's plan, by the way, Satan and the fallen angels. But we have members of our government who have been taken over by demonic spirits, and they're part of this. There it is. This blue line, it also represents a water event, and it's the bell ringing. They're ringing the bell, and I'm ringing the bell. That's what my name means. Yahweh is given a bell ringer. So I'm sounding the alarm. Prepare yourselves. I don't know the hour, the day, the month of the year, but I'm telling you it's coming no matter what. In the story, folks, get ready. Jesus is coming. So's the end. World War III is upon us. It's the Liberty Bell, and it's ringing.
Habakkuk 2:3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Habakkuk 2:3. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Behold, the hand of the oppressor has been lifted up against you, and out of the sea shall come fire and smoke and a devouring wind. Water as high as the walls of Jerusalem will cover the city by the sea, and great shall be the destruction of that city.
Brisk, kinda out there. Hey, bro, is that your robot? It was about 5 or 6 weeks ago that Victoria spoke to a group of 600 people at a Rotary Club, and she's going to be giving the same speech to us today. And I saw it, I think a week or so after it hit the web, it started going around, and so I quickly got on the phone and talked with her dad, Zane, and invited them here. And so we have a very special treat. So Victoria, come on up, do your thing. Go up.
Have you ever wondered why Canada is in debt? Have you ever wondered why the government forces Canadians to pay so many taxes? Have you ever wondered why the bankers from the largest private banks are becoming wealthier and the rest of us are not? Have you ever wondered why the gross national debt is over $800 billion? Or why we are spending $160 million a day on the interest of the national debt? That's $60 billion a year. Have you ever wondered who receives the $60 billion? What I have discovered is the banks and the government have colluded to financially enslave the people of Canada. I will share with you 3 important points of reference, which will hopefully spark enough interest and concern for you to continue the research on your own and to engage your government to stop this criminal act against the people of Canada. First, we will briefly examine the Bank of Canada. Second, we will see how our banking system works today. And lastly, I will offer a viable solution that we can petition our government to implement. A very little known figure in Canadian history is J.L. McGeer. He was a lawyer, Member of Parliament, and Mayor of Vancouver. His contribution to Canada is probably the greatest in our history. He championed the creation of the National Bank of Canada, whose sole purpose is to create and manage Canada's money. It was formed on July 3, 1934, and owned by all Canadians. Until the 1970s, because of the Bank of Canada, Canada's national debt was held at a constant, manageable level, until the government decided to implement what we now have as our modern-day banking system that is robbing the Canadian people. So how are they robbing us? Allow me to explain how our private banks and government work today. First, the Canadian government borrows money from the private banks. They then lend the debt-based money to Canada with compounded interest. The government then continues to increase taxation of Canadians year after year in order to pay back the interest on the exponentially growing national debt. What results is inflation, less real money for Canadians to spend into our economy, and the real money being used to pad the pockets of the banks. Also, the government gave the banks the ability to loan out money that doesn't exist in the form of loans. When a bank gives you a mortgage, which literally means a debt pledge or a loan, they don't actually give you money. They click a key on a computer and generate the fake money out of thin air. They don't actually have it in their bank vaults. Presently, the banks only have $4 billion on reserve, but they have loaned out over $1.5 trillion. To quote Graham Towers, each and every time a bank makes a loan, a new bank credit is created. New deposits, brand new money. Broadly speaking, all new money comes out of a bank in the form of loans. As loans are debt, then under the present system, all money is debt. What I find interesting is even Jesus, in Matthew 21, drove out the money changers in the temple because they were manipulating the currency to steal money from the people. The private banks are just like the money changers in Matthew 21. They are defrauding and robbing the people of Canada, thus their freedom, and they need to be stopped. How should the banking system work? In an infamous interview, Mr. McGeer asked Mr. Towers, "Can you tell me why a government with power to create money should give that power away to a private monopoly and then borrow that which Parliament can create itself back at interest to the point of national bankruptcy?" Mr. Towers replied, "If Parliament wants to change the form of operating the banking system, then certainly that is within the powers of Parliament. In other words, if the Canadian government needs money, they can borrow it directly from the Bank of Canada. The people would then pay fair taxes to repay the Bank of Canada. This tax money would in turn get injected back into our economic infrastructure and the debt would be wiped out. Canadians would again prosper with real money as the foundation of our economic structure and not debt money. Regarding the debt money owed to the private banks, such as the Royal Bank, We would simply have the Bank of Canada print the money owing, hand it over to the private banks, and then clear the debt with the Bank of Canada. And yes, we have the power and lawful right to do so. In conclusion, it has become painfully obvious, even for me, a 12-year-old Canadian, that we are being defrauded and robbed by the banking system and a complicit government. What will we do to stop this crime? What will we do to ensure that the next generation will live free and clear of the debt-based economy that enslaves them to the banks? Margaret Mead said the following, and I hope that all of you remember this. Never doubt that a small group of people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Thank you.
Now more than ever, America's electricity.
Hello, I'm Severin Suzuki speaking for ECHO, the Environmental Children's Organization. We're a group of 12 and 13-year-olds trying to make a difference. Vanessa Suddy, Morgan Geisler, Michelle Quigg, and me. We've raised all the money to come here ourselves, to come 5,000 miles to tell you adults you must change your ways. Coming up here today, I have no hidden agenda. I am fighting for my future. Losing my future is not like losing an election or a few points on the stock market. I am here to speak for all generations to come. I am here to speak on behalf of the starving children around the world whose cries go unheard. I am here to speak for the countless animals dying across this planet because they have nowhere left to go. I am afraid to go out in the sun now because of the holes in our ozone. I am afraid to breathe the air because I don't know what chemicals are in it. I used to go fishing in Vancouver, my home, with my dad, until just a few years ago we found the fish full of cancers. And now we hear of animals and plants going extinct, every day vanishing forever. In my life, I have dreamt of seeing the great herds of wild animals, jungles and rainforests full of birds and butterflies. But now I wonder if they will even exist for my children to see. Did you have to worry of these things when you were my age? All this is happening before our eyes, and yet we act as if we have all the time we want and all the solutions. I'm only a child, and I don't have all the solutions. I want you to realize, neither do you. You don't know how to fix the holes in our ozone layer. You don't know how to bring the salmon back up in a dead stream. You don't know how to bring back an animal now extinct. And you can't bring back the forest that once grew where there is now a desert. If you don't know how to fix it, please stop breaking it. Here, you may be delegates of your government, business people, organizers, reporters, or politicians. But really, you are mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, aunts and uncles, and all of you are someone's child. I'm only a child, yet I know we are all part of a family, 5 billion strong. In fact, 30 million species strong. And borders and governments will never change that. I'm only a child, yet I know we are all in this together and should act as one single world towards one single goal. In my anger, I am not blind, and in my fear, I am not afraid of telling the world how I feel. In my country, we make so much waste. We buy and throw away, and yet northern countries will not share with the needy. Even when we have more than enough, we are afraid to share. We are afraid to let go of some of our wealth. In Canada, we live the privileged life, with plenty of food, water, and shelter. We have watches, bicycles, computers, and television sets. The list could go on for 2 days. 2 days ago, here in Brazil, we were shocked when we spent time with some children living on the streets. This is what one child told us. I wish I was rich. And if I were, I would give all the street children food, clothes, medicines, shelter, and love and affection. If a child on the streets who has nothing is willing to share, why are we who have everything still so greedy? I can't stop thinking that these are children my own age, that it makes a tremendous difference where you are born. That I could be one of those children living in the favelas of Rio. I could be a child starving in Somalia, or a victim of war in the Middle East, or a beggar in India. I am only a child, yet I know if all the money spent on war was spent on finding environmental answers, ending poverty, and finding treaties, what a wonderful place this earth would be. At school, even in kindergarten, you teach us how to behave in the world. You teach us to not to fight with others, to work things out, to respect others, to clean up our mess, not to hurt other creatures, to share, not be greedy. Then why do you go out, do the things you tell us not to do? Do not forget why you are attending these conferences, who you're doing this for. We are your own children. You are deciding what kind of a world we are growing up in. Parents should be able to comfort their children by saying, everything's going to be all right. It's not the end of the world. And we're doing the best we can. But I don't think you can say that to us anymore. Are we even on your list of priorities? My dad always says, you are what you do, not what you say. Well, what you do makes me cry at night. You grown-ups say you love us, but I challenge you, please, make your actions reflect your words. Thank you.